Hi, brethren. Hope you are well. And as we continue our Wednesday wisdom, as we look at Proverbs chapter 7, once again, it is a chapter where God is stressing marital faithfulness. And he emphasizes to the young man, do not listen to the call of a woman other than your wife. But then we come to chapter 8, and wisdom is personified in chapter 8. And in contrast to the call of an adulterous woman, Solomon begins chapter 8 by saying, does not wisdom call, and understanding lift up her voice? So where one would not listen to the call of an adulterous woman, one should listen to the call of wisdom, because it is a call we need to hear. Why? Verse 8, all the utterances of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing crooked or perverted in them. When we hear the wisdom of God, we hear wisdom that is going to lead us in the correct path, the path you and I truly need to follow. And wisdom that comes from God is not in any shape, form, or fashion going to try to lead us off in a bad way. But verse 11, for wisdom is better than jewels, and all desirable things cannot be compared with her. That's strong language. That is telling us how really important it is that you and I gain wisdom in our lives. It's more important than riches. It's more important than fame. It's more important than anything else we can possibly have. Why? As we have already seen, wisdom leads us to fear of the Lord. And so verse 13, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride and arrogance, and the evil way, and the perverted mouth I hate. So, if we learn wisdom, evil is not something we're going to want to fool with. Evil is not something that we want into our lives. We don't want to investigate it. We don't want to find out all we can about it. Evil is something we want to flee. Fleeing is not always bad. Sometimes it is the wisest thing we can possibly do. And in the world in which we live today and the problems so many people are having and everything else, this idea of fleeing wisdom becomes even more valuable to us. So, wisdom from God hates evil ways, but it hates pride. We have already seen that in chapter 6. Pride says, I don't need God. Arrogance says, I'm better than other people. And of course, the evil way, whatever that may entail, whatever it may involve, wisdom tells us, stay away. It's dangerous. It's harmful. Don't get caught up in it. Run. Stay as far away as you possibly can. And then the perverted mouth. Oh, that could take in so many things. Criticizing people, condemning things we don't understand and don't know about. Foul language, which has become such a common thing in our world today. You know, when I was young, common language like that was frowned upon. And now we hear it from politicians, we hear it in movies, and people almost take it for granted. There are people who laugh when small children use profane language. How sad. How sad that our society has descended into something like that. But going on with this idea of acquiring wisdom, verse 17, I love those who love me, and those who diligently seek me will find me. Wisdom's there. It's available. It's available to all of us. It doesn't matter what our educational level is or anything else. Wisdom is there and available, and if we'll look for it, we can find it. Verse 20, I walk in the ways of righteousness. That's what you and I want to do. Walk in the way of righteousness. And so, if we want to do that, if we wish to accomplish that in our lives, we're going to seek wisdom. But then verses 22 through 31 are very powerful indeed. I'm not going to read all of them, but the message here is very clear, beginning in verse 22. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way, before his works of old. From everlasting I was established, from the beginning, from the earliest times of the earth. You know, the atheistic evolutionist would tell us that everything that exists in creation was basically an accident. It was by chance. Solomon tells us, no, God used great wisdom in creating things. You realize if the world were a couple of 100 miles closer to the sun, we'd be like Venus, cooked. Or if we were a couple of 100 miles further from the sun, we'd be like Mars and frozen. God used wisdom and put the earth precisely where it needed to be. God was a great master of organization. NASA has used that organization. Many times True Science has recognized that organization and used it. But when we look at our world, when we look at the complexity of ourselves, when we look at the beauty and magnitude of the universe, it was not an accident. It was a skillful performance by someone who used wisdom in everything they did. Verse 30. Oh, I like this one. Then I was beside him as a master workman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the world, his earth, and having my delight in the sons of men. No. Creation's not an accident. Creation's not some thrown together thing by chance. We had a marvelous organizer who used wisdom to put this world and the people in it together. Verse 32, wisdom says, now therefore, O sons, listen to me. For blessed, that word means happy, are those who keep my ways. The really happy people are the ones who are living wise in our world, not the ones that are blundering through life. And then finally in verse 35, for he who finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. And so wisdom, it's something that we should desire. It's something that we should seek. It's something that we should long for, because it is something that will help us live our lives in the way God wants us to live our lives. And may He help you find His wisdom.